if you want to apologize to somebody and you want to be with them, what would you do? You'd say nice things, you'd be happy, you'd be kind. But Harry has come out with...
Charles's Prince Harry dilemma has got even worse.
And here we go again. Prince Harry, the man who could trip over his own crown if given half a chance, has landed himself in yet another royal disaster. Every time you think he might finally keep quiet and fade into the background, he finds a brand new way to embarrass himself in the spotlight. But this time it's different. This isn't about a Netflix flop. It's not about that awkward Spotify exit. And it's definitely not about Meghan's laughable jam project that barely made it out of the kitchen. No, this time it's personal. Harry decided to square up with the one man who still had the tiniest shred of patience left for him. His own father, King Charles. And what was the spark that set this royal showdown ablaze? Harry's outrageous demand. A demand so wild, so ridiculous, that it backfired instantly. The kicker? Buckingham Palace insiders say the whole fiasco went down inside the palace walls just yesterday, and aides are still laughing about it behind closed doors.
At Buckingham Palace yesterday, that could potentially see more change to the Harry situation.
This is really intriguing. I haven't actually seen any discussion of this at all, but it was noted in the court circular, the official record of events, that King Charles received...
Imagine that. Staff who once bowed their heads now chuckling over the prince who thought he could outplay the king. Let's cut right to the chase. Prince Harry, in all his royal audacity, actually believed that his father, the reigning king of the United Kingdom, should roll out a red carpet of special treatment just for him. Not the kind of perks loyal, hard-working royals receive, but privileges even they don't dare to ask for. And King Charles, who's been worn down by years of Sussex drama, finally hit his breaking point. He didn't just draw a line, he practically spray-painted it across the Buckingham Palace gates in bold red, white, and blue for everyone to see. And make no mistake, Harry wasn't asking for something small like a pat on the back or a private "sorry, son." Oh no, his list was outrageous. He wanted cushy royal accommodations, top-tier security perks, and high-level recognition, all without lifting a finger for royal duty. Think about it. He quit the firm, dragged the monarchy through the mud, sued institutions connected to the crown, trashed his family in public interviews, and then had the nerve to circle back asking for VIP treatment as if nothing ever happened. Picture this in everyday life. You quit your job, you sue your company, you humiliate your boss on live TV, and then you storm back demanding not just your old desk, but the corner office, unlimited benefits, and valet parking on top of it. That's exactly what Harry tried to pull with Charles, and the palace corridors are still buzzing about his nerve. And this time, Charles didn't melt into fatherly softness. He didn't bend, he didn't compromise. He stood firm like a king with no patience left to give. Let's break it down. There was no open-door welcome for the so-called prodigal son. Instead, King Charles made it crystal clear that Harry's requests weren't just over the top, they were downright insulting. Palace aides whisper that when Charles glanced at Harry's list of demands, he didn't see it as a plea for fairness. He saw it as Harry openly mocking the monarchy itself.
Now, Angela Levin, you have also been hearing of some of these demands that Prince Harry is apparently making. And you've often spoken of these demands. You know, an apology, particular treatment of Meghan.
Think about it. Harry has spent years dragging the very institution that raised him through the mud. He sat across from Oprah, wiping his tears while claiming Meghan was abandoned by the firm. He cashed in on a tell-all memoir where he painted his family as cold, cruel, and even racist. He popped up in slick Netflix documentaries, retelling every private conversation like his life was one long gossip diary. And after all that, after torching the family name in every possible way, he seriously thought Charles would roll out a royal red carpet just for him? The audacity is jaw-dropping. And here's where it gets even messier. This wasn't just Harry begging for security detail or access to a palace guest room. Oh no, insiders claim the real shocker was that Harry wanted equal status during his visits to the UK. That means royal residences at his disposal, official recognition alongside senior royals, and even staff privileges, as if he were still an active working royal. Imagine waltzing back into the palace after torching it in public, then demanding the keys to every locked door like nothing ever happened. Charles didn't just see arrogance in those demands. He saw a son who wanted the perks without the price. And that was a line no king could allow him to cross. Yes, you heard that right. Harry wanted staff, as in assistants, footmen, drivers, the full royal entourage, like nothing had ever happened, as if he hadn't just nuked his entire family on international television for the world to watch. The arrogance is unbelievable. And here's the burning question. Why would Harry even imagine this was possible? The answer is simple. He's been trapped in a Montecito bubble. Out there in sunny California, he and Meghan are the stars of their own never-ending reality show. They've got their PR machine spinning, their Hollywood circle of friends, though noticeably fewer than before, and their carefully curated version of reality where the Sussexes are global icons, untouchable by criticism.
Demands Prince Harry has for his father. Mind you, Prince Harry has shanked his family, done a tell-all book, docuseries, and turned on them, and even did a sit-down interview with Oprah where he accused them of racism.
But the brutal truth hits every time Harry sets foot back in the UK. Outside of California Fantasyland, he's nothing more than a royal who walked away and left a mess behind. He's the prince who turned his back on duty, and in Britain, that betrayal sticks like glue. And here's where Charles comes in. Of all people, the king knows exactly how fragile royal image really is. He spent decades clawing back his reputation after the Diana years. Years of scorn, criticism, and being cast as the villain in his own story. Charles endured the boos, the headlines, the relentless judgment. He rebuilt himself brick by brick, and he understands the golden rule of monarchy. Image is survival. He wasn't about to risk all that hard work just to hand Harry the illusion of status he no longer deserves. So when Harry tried to strong-arm his father into granting perks that even senior working royals wouldn't dare request, Charles didn't see a vulnerable son reaching out. He saw a liability, and in the world of the firm, liabilities are cut off, not coddled. Reports say Charles refused point blank. No hesitation, no fatherly compromise, just a firm no. And to twist the knife a little deeper, palace insiders say the crown deliberately leaked just enough of their exchange to the press to remind the world exactly who's in charge.
Prince Harry at Clarence House, King Charles is already planning the next step, a Zoom call.
That was the monarchy's way of sending a message. Harry, you tried it, and you failed. And wow, did it backfire. Instead of sympathy, Harry's outrageous demand turned him into the punchline of the week. British tabloids had a field day, plastering headlines about the entitled prince, who still believes he's special while everyone else sees through the act. Social media roasted him relentlessly, with users pointing out that this is the same man who cried about wanting privacy but now expects a palace suite on standby, like it's a hotel reservation. Even worse, his shrinking base of loyal supporters couldn't spin this one. Instead, they sighed in visible exhaustion, asking how many more times Harry could walk face first into humiliation before finally learning his lesson. The whole debacle was embarrassing enough, but what makes it sting the most is the timing. Charles is already carrying the weight of his illness, the pressure of holding the monarchy together, and the delicate task of preparing William to step into an even bigger role.
Position to come in and negotiate and have demands. Here are some of his demands. Full security for himself and his family, press control that will be coordinated by Buckingham Palace, and finally, for his wife Meghan Markle to be treated as Her Royal Highness, complete with bows and...
And in the middle of all that, Harry storms in with demands that reek of self-importance. The very last thing King Charles needed was his son barging in with childish ultimatums, and yet that's exactly what he got. And let's be real, Meghan's fingerprints are all over this scheme. She's the one pushing Harry to keep at least one foot in the royal camp, because without that fragile connection, their entire power couple brand collapses faster than Meghan's jam jars at a California farmer's market. Think about it. Hollywood isn't calling Meghan Markle the actress. That ship sailed years ago. Spotify already proved the world doesn't want Meghan Markle, the podcaster. And Netflix? They're clearly running out of patience with the endless Sussex melodrama. The cold truth is this: the only thing that still makes their phones ring is those royal titles. And poor Harry, bless his naive heart, he's the only one desperate enough to go crawling back to his father, begging for scraps of royal legitimacy to keep the brand alive. Meanwhile, Meghan stays behind in California, perfectly positioned to spin the narrative once the drama breaks. If Charles had budged, she'd have painted it as proof of a cruel king or a jealous William trying to block her shine. But this time, Charles didn't give her that luxury. He refused Harry outright. Clean, swift, and final. No negotiation, no compromise, just an iron wall. And here's the kicker. In the PR world, silence can be the most dangerous weapon of all. Charles gave Meghan nothing to twist, nothing to sell, nothing to play victim with. For once, the palace controlled the script, and that silence screamed louder than any royal statement ever could. Without the headlines, without the drama, and without that golden ticket of royal access, Harry and Meghan are just another celebrity couple in LA, clinging to relevance like it's slipping through their fingers. Once upon a time, Harry was riding high, ranked #2 in popularity across the entire British Isles, and even admired throughout the Commonwealth. But those days are long gone. He's plummeted in the polls and now sits just a hair above Prince Andrew in public favor. That's how far he's fallen. And here's the truth. Harry knows it. That's why he's scrambling to claw his way back into the social graces of King Charles. He needs that royal shine to sell books, land projects, and keep his star from burning out completely. But this refusal? It marks a permanent shift. For years, Harry banked on his father's soft heart. He played the card of being the beloved son, assuming that no matter how bad things got, Charles would eventually cave for the sake of peace. Not anymore.
Stuart, he used to be number 2 in terms of popularity on YouGov polls within the whole of the British Isles and in the Commonwealth. Now he's plummeted. He's only right just above Prince Andrew. So he's got to do something to get back in the social graces of King Charles, to help his star, to be able to actually sell books or do whatever he's going to do.
Insiders reveal Charles has hardened. The king isn't entertaining emotional blackmail. He's done with appeasement, and he's through with offering special treatment in hopes Harry might change. The line has been drawn in bold ink, and Charles isn't budging. And here's the kicker. William reportedly applauded his father's stance. The heir to the throne has zero patience left for his younger brother's antics. To William, Harry's absurd demand wasn't just laughable, it was dangerous. If Charles had caved, it would have signaled weakness and opened the door for even more manipulations. By saying no, the monarchy proved it will not bend to Harry's whims ever again. And now Harry's left in the cold, stripped of leverage, abandoned by influence, and stuck with nothing but the bitter reality of his own choices. Harry's demand has exploded right back in his face. His father flat out refused him. His brother sees him as nothing more than a nuisance, and the palace isn't even bothering to hide its frustration anymore. As for the British public, they're rolling their eyes, exhausted with the endless Sussex circus. Harry wanted royal privileges without royal responsibilities, but what he got instead was a cold, brutal reminder. You can't walk away, torch the institution, and then come crawling back with conditions. And if you thought the humiliation ended with Charles's icy rejection, think again. The palace has flipped this entire disaster into a masterclass strategy. Here's the brilliance. They're not over-explaining, they're not justifying, they're not even engaging. All it takes is a well-timed no comment, a vague insider whisper to the press, and suddenly Harry's ridiculous demand is the headline of the week. The monarchy has figured out the game. They know that giving Harry direct attention is like tossing gasoline on a fire. He twists every response into his victim narrative. But silence? Silence is deadly. Silence forces him to shout into the void, ranting and raving with no response to grab onto. And that silence leaves him looking desperate, unstable, and irrelevant in the eyes of the world. That's exactly the image Charles and William want out there. By refusing to play his game, they've turned Harry into his own worst enemy, an isolated voice crying for relevance while the palace sits back, calm, collected, and completely in control of the narrative. Behind the palace doors, even the staff are buzzing. Maids are reportedly calling this a lesson in boundaries. Harry has been told in no uncertain terms, no security perks, no royal suites, no staff, and absolutely no special treatment. He can visit the UK, sure, but only as a private citizen. And here's the kicker, that's exactly what he demanded to be when he stormed out years ago. You can't insist on being independent while cashing in on privacy, then circle back expecting the royal machine to treat you like a king. The hypocrisy is staggering. But here's where it gets deliciously messy. Meghan's reaction. Palace insiders claim she was absolutely livid when word reached Montecito. And don't get it twisted, she wasn't heartbroken because Harry didn't get a hug from Daddy Charles. No, she was furious because their entire brand strategy just took a brutal hit. Meghan knows better than anyone that without royal proximity, the Sussex name starts to fade fast. Hollywood executives aren't lining up for a Netflix sequel about Harry's quiet polo matches or Meghan's avocado toast experiments. What they want, the only thing that sells, is the drama, the palace intrigue, the royal tension.
From that bombshell meeting between Prince Harry and King Charles, which was long confused because some sources believe she was there, was because she has told the king that she will not forgive either Prince Harry or Meghan.
And with one decisive move, Charles slammed the door on all of it. The silence from Buckingham Palace didn't just strip Harry of perks, it stripped Meghan of her favorite currency, royal chaos she can spin for profit. And that silence may just be the biggest threat to the Sussex brand yet. Think about it. Meghan's entire California playbook has always been about keeping one polished foot inside the royal circle while pretending she and Harry are independent trailblazers. It's the perfect balancing act for her. The glamour of royalty without the grind of actually serving the crown. But Charles's new line in the sand just ripped that illusion apart. Because here's the truth, if they're not given official recognition or royal privileges, they can't sell the image of being half in, half out. There is no halfway. You're either in the firm or you're out. and Charles made it brutally clear. The Sussexes are out. Meghan knows that out doesn't just mean freedom. It means being overlooked, irrelevant, forgotten in the Hollywood shuffle. And that's her greatest fear. Palace chatter adds another brutal twist. Harry left his tense exchange with Charles not just disappointed, but reportedly in tears. Yes, tears. He walked in convinced that his father's soft heart would rescue him, that Charles would eventually fold under paternal guilt. Instead, he was met with a masterclass in royal steel. The king didn't bend, he didn't waver. He gave Harry a flat, unwavering no. And let's be honest, Harry has never shown the thick skin needed to handle rejection. Every setback becomes a sob story. Every no gets twisted into another grievance to sell to Netflix or Oprah. But this wasn't just another number. This was Charles planting a flag in the ground, declaring enough is enough. And it's not just Charles drawing boundaries. Behind the palace gates, William has been tightening his grip on the family narrative too. Sources whisper that William has been pushing his father to stop indulging Harry altogether, and this icy refusal proves that strategy is finally taking root. No private chats, no secret visits, and definitely no bending the rules. William reportedly sees this moment as a turning point, a chance to prove once and for all that the monarchy doesn't negotiate with tantrums. This isn't just about shutting Harry down, it's about setting a precedent for the future of the crown. Now let's talk optics, because they're absolutely brutal. Harry makes a grand push for special treatment, struts in with demands, and what happens? The palace denies him flat out. The press gets wind of it, headlines explode across every tabloid, and who ends up looking like the spoiled, entitled royal who never grew up? Harry, of course. Meanwhile, Charles suddenly looks stronger than ever, firm, resolute, a king who won't cave to emotional blackmail. William comes off as steady, strategic, the protective heir already stepping into his leadership role. And here's the real kicker. Even Camilla, who's usually the target of Harry and Meghan's sly digs, now looks like the voice of reason. Insiders claim she urged Charles not to fold, and that advice has aged like gold. The result? A complete PR bloodbath for Harry, and the palace didn't even have to lift a finger. All they had to do was say nothing, let Harry spin himself into the ground, and watch the fallout do the rest. And we can't ignore the growing whispers about Harry's titles. Every time he pulls a stunt like this, the conversation about stripping the Sussexes of their Duke and Duchess status heats up all over again. Members of Parliament have already floated the idea, and if Harry keeps embarrassing the crown, that chatter may turn into action sooner than he ever expected. Charles's refusal shows a major shift. If Harry keeps pushing, losing those titles may not stay gossip. It could become reality. And imagine Meghan's fury if that happened. No Duchess branding, no royal shine, just Meghan Markle, ex-actress with failed projects. Insiders say the king's stance has boosted his approval ratings, with the public praising him for finally standing firm. The monarchy looks stronger without Harry dragging it down. Meanwhile, the Sussex camp is rattled. Meghan is reportedly scrambling for a new PR spin, likely reviving the poor Harry storyline to squeeze out sympathy. They'll try to spin this as Charles abandoning his son, but the public isn't buying it anymore. Harry's victim card is worn out, creased, dog-eared, and laughed at. He wanted power, leverage, and his father's approval. What he got was nothing but embarrassment. Meghan's left holding a brand that looks shakier by the day. The palace won't take him back. Hollywood is cooled. Every desperate grab for relevance only reminds the world how far they've fallen. Meanwhile, Charles sent a message loud and clear. The crown doesn't play by California rules. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.